makes no sense. Quote, but significant turnover on Capitol Hill has brought a new generation of Republicans, less protective of Washington's post-9/11 counterterrorism powers, and about half of those House Republicans have never cast a vote on it. Exactly. This is the key change that most people who are American liberals do not understand, and most people in media do not understand. I want to read that again because it's so true. And it's something to celebrate. Quote, significant turnover on Capitol Hill has brought a new generation of Republicans less protective of Washington's post-9/11 counterterrorism powers. In other words, this new generation of Republicans is skeptical of the NSA, the FBI, and the CIA like the left and liberals in the United States used to be, but no longer are. The article goes on, quote, this will be a first impression for many of them, said Representative Darren LaHood, Republican of Illinois, a supporter of the program, who is part of the Intelligence Committee's 6-member working group trying to determine how Congress can restrict the program without hamstringing it. Quote, the thought that 702 and FISA just focus on terrorism, I think that narrative has to be changed. We need to focus on China. We need to focus on Russia. We need to focus on Iran and North Korea. These Republican establishment figures always have an endless list of villains that you're supposed to be scared of to justify government spying on you without warrants. They've never explained why they can't spy on Americans without warrants. Their argument is warrants are too complicated, they're too difficult, and in reality, the FISA court grants warrant applications in more than 99% of the cases. It's the easiest thing in the world to get a FISA warrant. So even if you believe we have all these villains we have to spy on Americans to protect against, China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, terrorism, et cetera, just make them go get warrants. That's always worked. Ronald Reagan got warrants in the middle of the Cold War with Russian missiles, nuclear-tipped missiles aimed at every American city. He fought the Cold War and got warrants in order to spy. Why can't they get warrants now? Quote, the Biden administration has been making a similar case to lawmakers, meaning a similar case to that Republican lawmaker, appealing to them to renew Section 702, which National Security Advisor Jake Sherman, I think it's supposed to be Jake Sullivan. I don't know if it's New York Times or ours, but anyway, that's Jake Sullivan, has said is crucial to heading off national security threats from China, Russia, cyber attacks, and terrorist groups. That's the Biden administration agreeing with the Republican establishment like they always do, like they do on Ukraine, like they do on China, and now they do on this spying power. Quote, but far-right lawmakers have embarked on a louder and more politically loaded effort to fight the measure. They have seized on official determinations that federal agents botched a wiretap on a Trump campaign advisor, and more recent disclosures that FBI analysts improperly used Section 702 to search for information about hundreds of Americans who came under scrutiny in connection with the January 6th attack and the Black Lives Matter protests after the 2020 murder of George Floyd by a police officer. Exactly. There's a mountain of evidence that the FBI has abused these powers for political ends. Why wouldn't you reform this law and limit what they can do? You don't have to be a hard right Republican to think that. Quote, in recent years, Capitol Hill has welcomed several new Democrats with backgrounds in national security who have favored extending the program. So anyone who's wondering who changed and what changed, read that New York Times article and pay attention to this spying debate. The new crop of Republicans are skeptical of the CIA, FBI, and NSA and want to limit spying powers without warrants. The new crop of Democrats come from the security state agencies, worship the CIA, the NSA, and the FBI, love spying powers, and love censorship. That is the radical change that our politics has ushered in. And if you don't understand that change, as is true of most establishment liberals and people who work in the media, you can understand nothing about American politics. Every issue is shaped by those changes that were ushered in by Donald Trump and by the new breed of Republicans and by the new breed of Democrats. Polling data shows it. The position of the parties show it. I've been in the same spot forever. What changes the labels that get attached to those views. But you see the politics changing around these issues, where the Democrats are now the people who believe in establishment authority and power and want all the powers that go along with that, including censorship, warrantless spying, and the rest. And it's these new crop of Republicans who are opposed to it. Now, the reality is there are some leading Democrats, including Senator John Ossoff from Georgia and even Dick Durbin, who also say the FBI can no longer be trusted with these spying powers and reform is needed. So it's really a bipartisan effort, more so than usual. There are some Democrats who aren't on the side of people like Adam Schiff and that new crop of national security fanatics and U.S. security state worshipers. But the way that this is being depicted is the way that our discourse constantly now describes these values, that if you believe in things like free speech, if you believe in things like the need for the government to get warrants before spying on us, you are now some sort of hard right figure. Remember, The Atlantic called RFK Jr. the first MAGA Democrat. Even though RFK Jr., or not even though, because RFK Jr. is a defender of free speech, is skeptical of the security state agencies, questions the CIA war in Ukraine, and U.S. militarism in general. Somehow, in the hands of the corporate media, those have now become MAGA views or hard right views, all as a way of maligning them. Thanks for watching this clip from System Update. Catch our full shows for free, live weekdays at 7 p.m. Eastern on Rumble, and join our locals community at greenwald.locals.com for all of my written journalism, exclusive after-show Q&As, and more.